The truth about what transpired may come as a surprise to you. Hadwin was born in Hartlepool, England, on July 6, 2004. Hartlepool is a compact industrial town. Paul and Anne-Marie dedicated significant effort to her upbringing. In the evenings, her mother was engaged in cleaning buildings, while her father was employed at the Navy Yard. An unusual and remarkable event occurred when I was just 8 years old. Casey was enjoying the vintage Janis Joplin records in her bedroom, reflecting on her grandfather's musical legacy. Suddenly, she began to sing. It did not resemble that of a child, exhibited resilience, power, and depth, an action that many considered unlikely for someone of her age. Her actions elicited a strong reaction from those around her. There was a belief that an individual may have unlawfully entered their residence. The sound was quite pronounced. Residents in the neighborhood gathered outside, curious about the source of the voice. Subsequently, medical professionals indicated that Courtney's vocal cords exhibited an unusual configuration. It gave her speech a coarse and husky quality, reminiscent of someone who has smoked for an extended period or has worn an item for many years. Courtney approached it in her own unique manner. At 8, individuals were captivated by her vocal abilities, yet she was grappling with internal challenges. Courtney experienced significant challenges with social anxiety. During the period from ages 6 to 12, she had limited interactions with her peers at school. Records indicated that she communicated with individuals outside her family for no more than 100 words annually. She did not verbally express her need to use the restroom. It has been documented she would retreat to closets during lunch to avoid social interactions. Her counselor indicated that the experience was comparable to the effects of PTSD in adulthood. Her family faced the difficult decision of allocating funds for therapy or heating their home. They invested more than £3,000 to enhance her sense of safety. Subsequently, a significant transformation occurred one night in 2014. The young girl was merely 10 years of age. On October 15th, she performed on stage at a local talent show. 76 individuals observed. She remained motionless for 30 seconds. Her grandfather believed he might need to remove her from the stage due to the trembling of her hands. As the music began for Proud Mary, a noticeable transformation occurred within her. She no longer felt fear. She performed with exceptional skill, exuding passion and vitality. The atmosphere became electric, with attendees expressing their enthusiasm through applause and tears for an extended 4 minutes. In just 2 days, her performance video garnered 50,000 views. Her grandfather, Bill Hadwin, a retired steelworker, served as her steadfast support. He offered his assistance, demonstrating a commendable spirit despite being 68 years of age, showing no concern for the challenges involved. Between 2014 and 2018, he covered more than 47,000 miles in his Ford Focus. He accompanied Courtney to all of the performances and engagements. He meticulously recorded all details in a notebook, including the expenses incurred for gas and snacks following performances. He provided her with his entire income, amounting to £8,400. He reached a point where he had to sell his tools to finance a recording session. He independently acquired the skills to manage a Facebook page and a YouTube channel, despite having no prior knowledge in these areas. His initial significant challenge took place in London, prompting him to drive 312 miles and spend the night in his car to minimize expenses. All of his actions were driven by love and faith. Subsequently, she encountered her most significant opportunity, The Voice Kids UK, in 2017. Reaching that point was quite challenging. She had previously faced rejection from 3 talent shows due to perceptions of her being unconventional. What distinguished her was her uniqueness. At the age of 14, she remained reserved and introspective when not performing on stage. However, when the music commenced, it felt as though I was witnessing a different individual. She became unkind and fearful. Several individuals attempted to persuade her to perform a pop song. She selected Tina Turner's 1973 track Nutbush City Limits instead. She recognized the potential risks involved, yet she trusted her instincts, and ultimately, it proved successful. The judges were taken aback when she commenced her performance. Will the Creeper remarked that her performance was enchanting. He had experienced numerous interviews prior, but this particular one truly intimidated him. The remaining judges remained silent, observing in astonishment as this reserved individual transformed into a rock star. The video gained significant traction online. The site left individuals in a state of shock. She maintained that level of performance throughout the finals, yet ultimately did not secure the victory. Jess Foley emerged as the winner. However, the subsequent events received extensive media coverage. During discussions, Jess expressed her belief that Courtney was deserving of the win. She remarked that Courtney's contributions were so impactful that they elevated the performance of everyone around her. Professionals in the field reached a consensus. There are opinions suggesting that Courtney's style may have been perceived as too strong for a family-oriented program, which could have contributed to her loss. Ultimately, her freedom was a result of not achieving victory. She was not bound by a record contract in the UK. She is now positioned to explore larger opportunities. However, fame also brought its challenges. Courtney experienced bullying at school once more. A few of her acquaintances ridiculed her actions by referring to her as the screaming girl. They created jokes and memes that circulated rapidly across the internet. It was more than merely a jest. It became unkind. Educators observed her in distress in the corridors. Her grades declined. While she was admired by audiences on television, her peers at school began to mock her for the very talent that garnered her fame. Courtney Hadwin achieved her opportunity on America's Got Talent by embracing a risk that many families would typically avoid. Paul and Ann resided in a quaint town in County Durham, alongside their 2 children. They possessed limited financial resources. Paul was employed as a builder. They exhibited immense confidence in their daughter by securing a loan of £3,000 against their home. Ann served as a part-time teaching assistant. Their income was sustained for nearly 3 months. Ann's vehicle has been sold. The entire effort was directed towards facilitating Courtney's arrival in Los Angeles for the interview. There was no assurance that she would advance beyond the initial round. They could have faced significant losses if circumstances had taken a turn for the worse, and it nearly happened. On July 10, 2018, just a few hours prior to her tryout, she experienced a chill in her hotel room. She exhibited an overwhelming response to her fear. She found herself immobilized and unable to communicate or shift her position. She wept quietly for hours. When the elevator malfunctioned, her mother assisted her in getting dressed, escorted her down the stairs, and facilitated her entry into an Uber. Courtney experienced such intense fear that she became physically ill twice during the journey to the show. She earnestly requested to return. In an effort to soothe her, her mother took a seat beside her and softly repeated the lyrics to Hard to Handle. The production team had uncertainties regarding her ability to sing upon their arrival. That being said, Courtney was fully prepared as if her life depended on it. She diligently managed 247 instances between March and July 28. Everything was documented in a purple book. She dedicated hours each day to working on it in a garage. The residence she occupied was transformed into a studio. The noise was causing disturbances for the neighbors. She experienced a loss of 3 garments due to excessive perspiration. One was frayed at the edges. One of them exhibited persistent sweat marks that were difficult to remove. Due to her frequent relocations, she experienced a weight loss of 8 pounds. Courtney's voice instructor believed it was detrimental to her, yet she found it impossible to cease. She was fully committed. She exerted considerable effort, yet she nearly overlooked the opportunity. Simon Cowell's team rejected her twice. In February, it was noted that her sound resembled that of other rock artists too closely. In April, it was stated that she lacked the appeal necessary for American audiences. She was advised to limit her viewing to programs available in her region. Subsequently, 12 days prior to the commencement of filming, another contestant was compelled to withdraw due to visa complications. An individual involved in casting recalled Courtney. The individuals responsible requested that they provide her with an opportunity. Courtney ultimately secured her position in that manner. Prior to her appearance on stage, Simon Cowell had not yet viewed her recorded performance. In September 2018, she confidently stepped onto the AGT stage, her hands trembling slightly. She was struggling to maintain her grip on the microphone. She appeared to be quite reserved and understated. She then opened her mouth and performed Hard to Handle by Otis Redding. Changes have occurred. Her singing was robust, authentic and impactful, reminiscent of Janis Joplin. The individual was taken aback. The judges were taken aback by the observations made. Her family has consistently recognized her reserved nature. Her grandfather remarked that she sang in her sleep. Additionally, this contributed to the unusual nature of the events that unfolded on stage. Her apprehension persisted They played a significant role in the production. It was indeed accurate. This will remain unforgettable. He did not wait for Howie Mandel. At 45 seconds into the performance, he activated the golden buzzer. The event was the quickest AGT to date. He was confident in his certainty. He remarked that it resembled the moment Clive Davis discovered Janis Joplin. Please refrain from speaking until the other judges have completed their remarks. I was preparing to attend the live shows immediately. There was a lack of concern regarding the violation of the established rules. Howie expressed that he had never experienced such an intense presence of star power in such a short time. The buzzer was not activated for merely a brief moment. It was a significant moment in history. Subsequently, all parties became aware. Within the initial 6 hours, her test video achieved 1 million views. The total exceeded 130 million by the conclusion of the week. A significant number of individuals viewed and disseminated it. Tyra Banks stated that by the time Courtney performed in her second live show, the viewership had exceeded 310 million. It was unprecedented for anyone to achieve such a distance. The reason was not attributed to advertisements or marketing efforts. It was disseminated due to its capacity to astonish individuals. At one time, I was simply an English child. Before long, she becomes a global sensation. Within a span of 5 months, the film achieved 50 million views on AGT's YouTube channel. After numerous years, Simon Cowell recognized that he had made a significant error. He stated that the most significant error he committed as a judge was failing to activate the golden buzzer for Courtney. He was on the verge of pressing the button when Howie took the initiative and did it first. He conveyed to her that the reality of his being frozen, despite his reputation for being cold and quick to judge, demonstrated the significant impact she had on him. He would always remember how that particular interview transformed his perspective on everything. Courtney's entire life transformed the instant the show premiered. We received more than 50,000 texts for her within a 24-hour period. A significant number of these were genuine proposals from record labels and talent agencies. Some were from fans, others were unusual, such as marriage proposals, and many were quite serious. Several of them proposed millions of dollars prior to her sending the initial one. Social media experienced a significant surge of activity. Within a week, she transitioned from a few hundred fans to surpassing 100,000. To manage the publicity effectively, her family sought assistance from external sources. They were unable to manage it independently. Courtney Hadwin represented more than merely a teenage contestant on America's Got Talent. Upon taking the stage for the semi-finals on September 11, 2018, she exuded a powerful presence in her school uniform as she performed Tina Turner's River Deep Mountain High. It was a remarkable event. On that night, the viewership reached 12.8 million individuals. The AGT show achieved the highest viewership of the entire year. In a strategic move, NBC has scheduled her show for the late-night slot, typically reserved for their most prominent stars. Within a span of 24 hours, an additional 8.2 million viewers from 47 distinct countries tuned into the show. Over 2.3 million tweets were disseminated across social media platforms. She garnered global attention for a continuous 6-hour period. However, the majority of individuals were unaware of the events that transpired behind the scenes. At just 14 years of age, she commanded the room with her powerful voice, yet she stood alone, confronting her personal battles. Anxiety and panic attacks are significant concerns that require attention and understanding. She occasionally experienced difficulty with her breathing. Occasionally, she would experience hyperventilation for a duration of 20 minutes prior to a performance. She trembled. She experienced vomiting. NBC appointed Dr. Sarah Mitchell as a full-time physician due to the severity of the situation. She arranged for her mother to travel from England specifically to provide support and maintain her composure. The most challenging situation occurred right before the finals. Courtney remained inside her changing room and secured the door. The directors and therapists were instrumental in encouraging her to open the door. She consistently attended every show, despite the circumstances surrounding her. The stress extended beyond internal boundaries. Individuals globally were placing bets and observing from a distance. Her fellow contestants held her in high regard, as did Shin Lim, the winner, and Brian King Joseph, who reached the finals. There was a prevailing expectation that she would emerge victorious. Shin, who seldom commented on fellow artists, stated that she was the most inherently gifted singer he had ever encountered. Brian remarked that her skill led him to question whether any other participants in the tournament were truly qualified to compete. The wagers started to accumulate in Las Vegas. She was favored at a ratio of 2-1 at major casinos such as Caesars and MGM. William Hill reported that 67% of all wagers were placed on Courtney. It was not following a remarkable season either. These odds were established following her initial attempt. However, the significant conclusion arrived, presenting a choice that would alter everything fundamentally. 3 days prior to the major event, her team made a commendable decision. They chose a more elegant and emotionally resonant song instead of providing her with another rock theme. The objective was to present Courtney to the world in her true form, unadorned, vulnerable, and sincere. She observed the audience and remained composed during certain sections of the performance. She neither danced nor screamed. She simply sang. She found it more intimidating than any fast-paced song. It demonstrated courage. Naturally, certain fans expressed disappointment. She was unsuccessful. Courtney placed 6th, not 2nd or 3rd. A young woman who has surpassed the 5-year viewing record. Simon's response was recorded on video. He was taken aback. His complexion paled. A single image of that item rapidly gained widespread attention online. Within a 24-hour period, he extended an invitation for her to visit his residence. Subsequently, he formalized a record deal for her with Psycho and Arista. Simon showed no concern for the results whatsoever. He acted swiftly, understanding that this was not merely another game. Her passing did not elicit a universally positive response, as she was a prominent figure. The online community reacted fervently. Discussions on Reddit, critiques on Twitter, and debates on Facebook. Viewers expressed concerns regarding the integrity of the show's results. Several individuals remarked that she consistently achieved the best times, that the show provided her with greater recognition than others. It is possible that the managers preferred her to lose, in order to avoid complications. Some suggested that her rock and roll performance lacked variety. Some suggested that more experienced viewers, who participated in voting frequently, simply did not comprehend the situation. For Courtney, popularity was achieved. Individuals expressed not only sadness, but also anger. The situation deteriorated in private settings. Courtney experienced a significant emotional response following the conclusion. The situation deteriorated. The pressure, the setbacks, and the response. Her family intervened and halted all of her public engagements, removing her from the spotlight. Their sole objective was to ensure the safety of their daughter, yet it proved insufficient. Simon Cowell expressed that her story moved him to tears, revealing insights that many others overlooked. Behind the voice and the performances was simply a young individual navigating the challenges of unexpected fame. The situation deteriorated. Following that point, began receiving genuine, serious death threats rather than merely online jokes. The authorities were required to intervene. Her family altered their approach to various matters. At specific intervals, they ceased their outings. They proceeded silently. Supporters from various groups directed their frustrations towards her following the losses of their preferred contestants. A child was held responsible for all the issues. The focus had shifted away from singing. Survival became the objective. This was Courtney Hadwin, 14, when her aspirations transformed into a challenging situation. The narrative illustrates the perilous nature of fame, particularly for a teenage girl who is in the process of discovering her identity. In December 2018, a significant transformation occurred in her life. She secured a significant record deal just a few months after finishing in 6th place on America's Got Talent. In collaboration with Arista Records, it was also associated with Simon Cowell's Psycho music. Courtney from Hartlepool found it difficult to accept the reality of the situation. It was an extraordinary realization of her aspirations. She expressed that she felt content, fortunate, and appreciative to compose her own music while remaining authentic to her identity. Simon Cowell expressed that she possessed remarkable talent and that her initial audition would remain memorable for him. He was eager to collaborate with her. Initially, it appeared to be a suitable match. However, circumstances shifted rapidly. The pressure started to build behind the scenes. The individuals in authority expected her to conform to a specific standard. Her raw rock and blues style was not well received, leading them to steer her towards more mainstream pop music. They were unaware of how to effectively market her distinctive voice and appearance. Courtney, who had been impressing audiences with her renditions of Otis Redding, James Brown, and Tina Turner songs, started to sense a lack of creative freedom. The label indicated that they would grant her artistic freedom. However, the situation did not unfold as anticipated. Subsequently, the most significant revelation occurred. In 2020, Courtney discovered that Psycho Music was closing not through a phone call, but via news reports. No warning or explanation was provided, only silence. Music Week has reported on the matter. Psycho was no longer present. It was formerly the residence of One Direction and Little Mix. The individual responsible for overseeing Sony has departed from the company. The remaining team members have either relocated to new or resigned from their positions. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the company discreetly ceased operations. Courtney was uncertain about the appropriate course of action. There was no established plan, no assistance available, and the transition was not seamless. She and her fellow artists found themselves in a challenging situation. Several other companies acquired a portion of them. Courtney, among others, had to navigate challenges independently. The situation deteriorated further as she failed to capitalize on significant opportunities. Partnerships with prominent artists have been terminated. Legal challenges hindered her ability to release her completed songs. Tracks that were scheduled for release in 2019 did not materialize. Music, she experienced setbacks in terms of time, financial resources, and advancement. It appeared straightforward due to their presence on a successful show, which garnered significant attention. Courtney's narrative illustrated the complexities inherent in real life. Other companies were deterred by the delay in her deal. While her friends advanced in their careers, she found herself observing as circumstances deteriorated around her. She persevered nonetheless. She chose not to pursue another record deal and instead opted for an alternative path. She proceeded independently. Her inaugural music video, titled Breakable, which she produced independently, was released on YouTube in 2023. Her response to a fan who mentioned Simon Cowell in the comments was quite revealing. In early 2020, Courtney Hadwin encountered an unforeseen challenge. She was unable to leave her residence in Heswall, Merseyside, for a consecutive 3-month period, specifically during March, April, and May. Not a single time. It started as apprehension of visibility, and apprehension of confrontation, but it swiftly evolved into something different. She found herself confined within her own home and her own thoughts due to her panic disorder and agoraphobia. She felt a tremor in her hands and a flutter in her heart at the mere thought of departing. Anne-Marie, her mother, noted that Courtney would become emotional merely at the mention of the outside world. Consequently, they underwent a transformation. The groceries were delivered to me. Video conferencing was utilized for therapy sessions. Courtney dedicated 18 hours each day to her room on the majority of days, returned to bed following meals. The young woman, once known for her captivating voice, found herself too intimidated to engage with the man who delivered her meal. The most unsettling aspect was not the silence, however. The evening was exceptionally charming. She sat in her room, scissors in hand, gazing at them as if they were her sole escape. This occurred in late 2019, not derived from actual experiences, but rather from her manner of speaking. She believed her voice was cursed, and thought that if she could no longer sing, the pain inflicted by others would cease. She researched methods to damage her vocal cords and viewed instructional videos on their repair. During the course of her work, her father, Paul, interrupted her. It roused me from sleep. Her family withdrew her from school, sought assistance, and monitored her closely for several weeks. The most challenging aspect was coming to terms with the fact that the very element that brought her fame and admiration had become the source of her greatest disdain. The situation involving the scissors was not related to death. They were strategizing a departure. Despite the passage of years, the pain remained palpable. In January 2025, there was a notable silence once more, though this time it occurred in the online realm. Courtney was not located on TikTok, YouTube, or Facebook. Over 1 million of her acquaintances were immediately aware. On March 5th, apprehension commenced. The narrative disseminated at an impressive pace. A silver vehicle had overturned in Durham, England, and a young woman was in critical condition. The unclear videos depicted paramedics and bright lights. Despite the absence of specific names, there was a prevailing sentiment of concern among all parties involved. Could it have been her? Simon Cowell's remarks only amplified the existing theories. He attended a television launch event in Los Angeles on the same day, but he did not remain for the duration. He departed after 11 minutes and expressed his emotions in his vehicle. The media observed him discreetly, removing tears from his eyes. It has been reported that he traveled to England overnight to be with Courtney. It has been reported that he even took the time to sit by her hospital bed. Following a few weeks, he discussed her during a live broadcast. His voice faltered. He remarked, "I have observed her development. It is disheartening to witness her in this state." Their emotions were genuine and unfiltered. If this were not genuine, Cowell would undoubtedly be regarded as the finest actress in the world at this moment. Supporters from across the globe responded. The phrase "pray for Courtney" gained global popularity within a matter of hours. More than 2.3 million posts were made on social media. In London, New York, and Sydney, individuals participated in virtual prayer groups, created tribute films, and lit candles. Colleagues, including Sam Fender and members of Bruce Springsteen's band, offered ambiguous expressions of support. No one provided any information regarding the situation. The silence enhanced clarity in every aspect. The revelation emerged towards the conclusion of March 2025. Although there was no crash or significant injuries, the situation remained quite serious. Courtney experienced significant voice strain and stress. The medical professionals advised her against proceeding with it. It is advisable to refrain from singing for a duration of 2 months to prevent the risk of potential permanent injury. It felt akin to losing a vital limb for an individual whose existence was intricately tied to her voice. She was limited to writing and using hand gestures for communication. She was unable to communicate verbally or perform musically. She articulated it most effectively. "The loss of my voice resulted in a profound loss of my identity. The experience transcended mere silence. It was a poignant moment, and she nearly succumbed to her emotions." However, from the silence emerged an unexpected occurrence. She composed a song in her bedroom during her recovery period. There was no elaborate studio setup. It was simply her, a microphone, and her genuine emotions. The song was titled, "She Was Telling Everyone, I'm Still Here." She dedicated herself fully to crafting the lyrics during a time when verbal communication was not an option. It achieved the position of number 19 on the hard rock chart, as reported by Billboard. Both the Australian and Swedish iTunes platforms have positioned it at the pinnacle of their charts. The music video, filmed at the London studio, rapidly surpassed 1 million views. The return of a voice once believed to be lost has brought about a notable change. Enhanced authenticity, increased strength, and greater depth. Monsters represented not merely a comeback, it signified a fresh beginning. Supporters who had expressed their emotions through tears, prayers, and concern for her well-being now celebrated her success. The young woman, who previously faced challenges in walking to her front door, has become a topic of discussion once more. This time, she required no one's approval, not a label, not a judge, not even her own apprehension.